There's 104 days of summer vacation, and school comes along just to end it.
Today, we're going to dive into the series Phineas and Ferb, starting from the very beginning until the end. The show is all about these two stepbrothers, Phineas Flynn and Ferb Fletcher, their sister Candace, and this crazy evil scientist named Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz. So, just chill out and get ready for some fun.
Mom! Phineas and Ferb are making a title sequence!
First things first, let's talk about the family dynamics in Phineas and Ferb. Phineas is Linda's son, and Ferb is Lawrence's son, and they come from different backgrounds because of their parents' past marriages that didn't quite work out. However, even though their family situation is unique, they all somehow manage to form a super close and loving bond throughout the show. It just goes to show that being related by blood isn't the only thing that makes a family. Every day, Phineas and Ferb come up with these crazy and ambitious projects to make the most out of their summer break. These projects usually involve building mind-blowing inventions and planning epic activities. They're always joined by their group of friends, including their older sister Candace, who constantly tries to bus them to their parents. But of course, the projects always conveniently disappear or go invisible right before their parents can catch them. Phineas is like the ultimate glass-half-full dude, always super positive and with an imagination that never quits. He's always looking for the next big thrill and can turn any boring situation into something mind-blowing.
Aren't you a little young to be a roller coaster engineer?
Yes I am.
Actually, he's the brains behind all the crazy ideas and mind-boggling inventions that keep us hooked. But Ferb, on the other hand, is more like the quiet and reserved type of guy, totally opposite to Phineas, who is always full of energy and outgoing. However, don't be fooled by Ferb's calm and collected appearance. He's actually the one who brings Phineas's wild ideas to life with his amazing engineering skills. He's the genius behind all those crazy contraptions they come up with during their whole vacation. Even though he may seem laid back, Ferb is always ready to help Phineas and share his technological know-how. Together, they are an unbeatable team, combining their strengths to make their adventures truly epic. As for Candace, she's like your typical teenager, always on a mission to expose her brother's crazy activities to their parents. It's no secret that she gets frustrated sometimes when her attempts to reveal their mischief fail. It seems like their creations always disappear or go unnoticed right before their parents show up. But deep down, Candace genuinely cares and loves her brothers. She has her moments of sisterly affection and protection, reminding us that family relationships are complex. Despite constantly trying to prove their activities, all she really wants is what's best for Phineas and Ferb, no matter what. But there's actually more to the show than just this family dynamic. There's this whole other part that's all about the super sad life of Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz and his constant struggle to find a loving and stable family. Even though he's like a total joke character most of the time, there are some episodes that really show his messed up childhood and what drives him. So let's dive into his total misery and see what he's been through. Doofenshmirtz was born in a made-up European city called Drosselstein, and his bad luck started when his parents didn't bother showing up for his birth. Wait a second, both of them? Since then, he's had this issue where he stinks, which made a lot of people, including his own parents, want to keep their distance from him. Doofenshmirtz had a rough childhood, constantly getting bullied. He'd get sand kicked in his face by big boots and have water poured on his head by girl Linda, who actually had a secret crush on him. He went through a lot of torment. One of the worst moments in his life was when his dad asked him to jump off a high dive as a test to prove his manhood, but he couldn't do it because of all the judgmental people around. That's when they started calling him a schnitzel, and his parents lost all respect for him. Things only got worse from there. His parents grew even more distant, and his dad even disowned him, refusing to acknowledge him as his own son. That's how he ended up being abandoned in the woods and raised by ocelots. To deal with his sadness, Doofenshmirtz turned to science for comfort. He participated in a science fair and created his first einator, but unfortunately he lost to a baking soda volcano not once, but twice. Frustrated with the disappointment, he decided to quit competing in science fairs. Later on, he found himself in a dunking booth, not as the person getting dunked, but as the target. During his duty, he created a balloon friend named Balloony using a spray he invented. Eventually, his parents accepted him back, although not for the right reasons. They made him replace their garden gnome and stand motionless for long hours. He wasn't even allowed to eat some nights. To make matters worse, his parents had a baby boy named Roger, who received all the love and attention Heinz desired. Forced by his mother, Heinz had to wear dresses to school and faced constant mockery. He received no support from his parents, and his brother Roger stole all the love and attention effortlessly. In an attempt to win his mother's affection, Heinz spent all his money on a gift, only to have it given to Roger. One day his parents tricked him and sent him to America, hoping to be rid of him. In America, Heinz finished high school and sold bratwurst on the streets to survive. He attempted to find himself through art, but his brother Roger accidentally ruined his masterpiece. Undeterred, he entered a poetry contest, only to be defeated again, this time by a baking soda volcano. After his girlfriend left him for someone else, Heinz found the courage to jump back into the dating game and ended up with Linda Flynn, who later became a pop star. On their date, Heinz openly shared his goal of taking over the world, and surprisingly, Linda encouraged him to go for it. She suggested starting small by conquering the tri-state area. Motivated by his aspirations, Heinz joined an evil school right after high school, which is hard to believe actually exists and teaches all sorts of shady things. So here's the thing. His plans didn't really work out as expected. One of his teachers, Dr. Guile Arlick, ended up flunking him, so he had to go to a community college instead. And you know what? While he was there, he happened to meet this woman named Charlene. They fell in love and got married, even though it seemed kind of unlikely. They had a daughter named Vanessa, who he really loved, but it took him a long time to win her over. He wasn't the best at throwing birthday parties for her, but eventually, he figured out how to do it right. He and Charlene ended up breaking up when Vanessa was 4, but they stayed on good terms and shared custody of their daughter. He tried to put his evil schemes aside during their marriage and focus on his family. But once the divorce was finalized, he needed to find a new place to live, so he got a penthouse that later became known as
Doof Incorporated.
It was a great deal, except for the noise from passing ships. Because of his reputation, some organization called OWCA saw him as a threat and assigned a spy to watch him. Turns out, the spy was Perry the platypus, who also happened to be Phineas and Ferb's pet. Talk about a talented platypus. Despite their furious battles, Perry and Dr. Heinz sometimes surprise us with moments of understanding and even cooperation. Heinz spends his days seeking revenge against those who wronged him, like his brother who's the mayor of Danville. But no matter what he does, Perry always gets in his way. He also tries really hard to win over his daughter and make her feel loved. His mission to have a stable family and take over the tri-state area continues throughout the show. In the last episode, Vanessa reveals that she got an internship at OWCA, the organization that fights evil, but she's in a tough spot because she's the daughter of one of their enemies, Dr. Doofenshmirtz. She can't join their group, but Vanessa sees the good in her dad and believes he has a good heart. In a heartfelt moment, she convinces Dr. Heinz to let go of his evil ways and embrace his potential for goodness. After facing the consequences of his actions, Heinz is surprised to find himself assigned to community service. To everyone's surprise, he becomes a teacher at Denville High, where his daughter Vanessa attends school. And believe it or not, Heinz manages to secure a job at OWCA, the organization that recruits animal agents. How does he do it, you ask? Well, it turns out his unusual upbringing in the wilderness, raised by ocelots, gives him a unique advantage. He's basically part ocelot himself, which makes him eligible for the job. Moving on, while the show mainly focuses on their friendship and adventures, there are also several relationship dynamics depicted. Let's talk about a few notable ones. Isabella, a member of the Fireside Girls and a good friend of Phineas and Ferb, has had a crush on Phineas for a long time. She's always helping out with their crazy projects and trying to get Phineas to notice her. But Phineas, oblivious as ever, doesn't seem to realize Isabella's feelings. Eventually, she gives up on the idea during their summer adventures. But guess what? Just when Isabella moves on, Phineas starts developing serious feelings for her. Talk about bad timing. He finally gathers the courage and confesses his crush on the last day of summer. They work things out and decide to attend the same college as a couple. So there's this crazy roller coaster of a relationship between Candace and Jeremy. They're always breaking up and getting back together, causing a ton of drama. On the other hand, Dr. Doofenshmirtz's ex-wife Charlene and their daughter Vanessa also bring some interesting dynamics to the mix. Speaking of Vanessa, Ferb actually had a crush on her throughout the show and tried his best to win her over even though he was younger. Eventually, they end up together in the final episode called Last Day of Summer. In that episode, Phineas and Ferb go all out to make the most of their last day of summer vacation. They create this huge contraption that represents all the other cool things they've made. It's like a tribute to their own imagination. It's important to note that this episode happens before Heinz gives up his evil ways, so he's still trying to take over the world, and Candace is still determined to bust her brothers. Surprisingly, Candace and Heinz never really interacted throughout the show until the very last episode. Candace visits her friend Vanessa and accidentally sets off a device that resets the day in a loop. Heinz sees it as a chance to perfect his evil plan, while Candace sees it as a chance to finally bust her brothers. But with each loop, parts of the world start disappearing. They realize that if they don't stop it, the whole world will be erased. Heinz tries to turn off the device, but it gets sucked into a rift. Candace tries to get help from her brothers, but they also get sucked into a rift. Their mom didn't even remember having 2 sons. Candace tried to explain, but she was still super confused. The main characters of the show were basically erased from existence, but not completely. They were all teleported to a weird, colorless void that looked like Danville. And guess what? The Do-Overinator was there too. So, when the day reset again, Heinz decided to make another Inator to fix everything. He even asked Perry and Vanessa for help. But before they could finish, the day started over again. Eventually, they managed to make it in time, and all they had to do was activate the Inator. Meanwhile, Candace and the gang got sucked into the void to rescue her brothers. They found the Inator but couldn't turn it off because then they'd be stuck there forever. So they made a catapult and traveled back to their world. But just as both Heinz and Candace were about to finish their tasks, the day kept resetting. Finally, in an epic showdown, they both pressed the button at the same time and saved the world. But guess what? Perry realized that Heinz's Inator wasn't even plugged in, so it was actually Candace who saved the day. The series ends with a heartwarming scene in the backyard, where Phineas, Candace, and their friends gathered to enjoy the last moments of their summer. They sat together, sipping orange juice and reminiscing about their favorite adventures. Meanwhile, Perry, Dr. Doofenshmirtz, Vanessa, and Norm had their own gathering. Heinz realized that his daughter's love was more important than revenge, and they all enjoyed some delicious muffins while reflecting on their unique journey. Candace finally gave up her obsession with busting her brothers, and Heinz finally found the family he always wanted. It's a delightful and heartwarming conclusion, showcasing the enduring friendships and cherished memories they created during their eventful summer together. So, that's the whole Phineas and Ferb timeline for you. If you enjoyed the video, give us a like and subscribe for more exciting content like this. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye!